Loving someone with addiction can drain you emotionally, but it doesn't have to. Boundaries are the key to showing up for them and yourself. I'm going to show you how to create a boundary that protects your peace while still being there for your loved one. Hi, I'm Jen Anderson, family recovery coach, and today we're diving deep into the art of setting boundaries. Because when you love someone struggling with addiction, protecting your own well-being is essential to maintaining your strength. So let's first start out with why boundaries are so important. If you're anything like the families I work with, you may feel guilty even thinking about putting your needs first. You love this person and you want to be there for them, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own mental and emotional health. Boundaries are actually an act of love. They allow you to offer genuine support without resentment or burnout. And for the person struggling with addiction, boundaries can help them recognize the impact of their actions. They can even inspire change by showing them that you respect yourself and you expect the same respect in return. So let's talk about specifics. What does setting a boundary actually look like? Think of a boundary as a clear line that says, this is what I need in order to feel safe and respected. A boundary that I often suggest for families is limiting late night phone calls. If your loved one has a habit of calling after they've been drinking and it's disruptive or emotionally draining, a boundary could be, I'm happy to talk to you, but not if you've been drinking and not after 9 p.m. This way you're showing that you're open to communication, but only under conditions that respect your peace. Another example could be financial boundaries. Many family members feel pressured to provide financial support. But if this contributes to a harmful behavior, the boundary might be, I can support you emotionally, but I won't give you money. This isn't about rejecting them. It's about making sure your support doesn't enable actions that could cause further harm. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step instruction on how to set your first boundary. Because setting your first boundary may feel intimidating. That's why we're going to break it down step by step to make it easier for you. So here's how you start. The first step is to identify what's not working. What's one specific situation that leaves you feeling stressed, angry, or overwhelmed? Start there. For instance, maybe you feel drained from those late night calls or requests for money. Number 2, get clear on what you need. Once you've identified the issue, decide what you need to feel safe and at peace. Again, it might be no calls after 9 p.m. or no more financial support. It might also be a fact of, I'm not going to engage in arguments. Sometimes just letting it go and saying, you know what, you're allowed to have your thoughts, but I don't agree, and we're not going to fight about it. If you're coming here to pick a fight, there's the door. You're welcome to leave. You don't have to do those things. And then the third thing is to choose a consequence. And now I don't want you to think of consequence as like a punishment. I want you to think of consequence as a way to protect your own mental well-being. So what action will you take if this boundary isn't respected? So in our example, if they call late at night, you just won't answer the phone. Or if they ask you for money, the answer's always going to be no. Those are not mean things. They're a way to protect yourself. The fourth step in this is to practice saying it. And I will tell you, I find this works really well if you practice it in front of a mirror, because you're looking at another person while you're looking at yourself, and you can see your changes in your facial expressions. You can notice when your tone is changing, and you might like make a face when your tone changes. So you can start to see those things. And it's really helpful to be looking at someone else, even if it's you, when you're doing that. So boundaries work best when they're communicated calmly. Write it out like a statement. I love you, but I can't keep answering calls after 9 p.m. If you're drinking, I'll be here for you in the morning. Then practice it out loud. Say it to yourself. Say it in the mirror. Watch your verbal non-cue, your verbal cues. Watch those things. Step 5 is to communicate clearly and calmly. When you're ready, find a calm moment to share your boundary. Be clear and remember you're doing this to protect yourself, not punish them. So in the heat of the moment can work, but it's better if you can say it at a time when you're not really frustrated and overwhelmed and upset. And then the last step is follow through with consistency. Boundaries are only effective if they're enforced. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but sticking to your boundary teaches your loved one that you're serious about protecting yourself, and it models respect. If you have to, think of your loved one like a toddler. And the only way to teach a toddler is to follow through. So if you say to your loved one, I am not going to take your calls after 9 p.m., and you answer the phone at 9:30, you're teaching them that they can still call you, and you're not respecting your own boundaries and your own self. But if they call you at 9:01 and you don't answer, you're following through, you're being consistent, and you're teaching them that it is after 9 p.m. and I am not taking those calls. 9 p.m. is a hard break. So now let's talk about some fears that you might have that come up around setting boundaries. You might be thinking, what if they get upset? What if they see this as rejection? And here's the thing. Loving someone through addiction is tough. It's natural for them to be resistant, especially if they're used to relying on you without limits. But boundaries are really a gift to both of you. By setting limits, you're preserving the strength you need to continue supporting them. You're saying, I'm here for you, but I have to take care of me too. Over time, this can lead to a more balanced, respectful relationship where they understand your limits, and they might even begin to set their own. I can tell you from personal experience, most addicts will get upset when you first start setting boundaries. But you know what? They usually don't walk away because you're still the family and you're the ones that love them unconditionally. So give them some space and some time. They're going to come back to see it. Let's talk briefly about some more benefits of setting boundaries. And so one of the things that I want you to understand is when you set boundaries, you will likely notice a shift in your own energy. No longer will you feel as drained or as resentful. You'll be able to show up with more love, more compassion, and more patience because you've taken the time to care for your own needs first. And over time, you may even see a change in your loved one. And I think that you probably will, especially if you hold firm to your boundaries. While boundaries don't guarantee that someone will change their behavior, they do create an environment where that change is possible. And if nothing else, boundaries remind you that you deserve respect and peace, no matter what challenges you're facing. I know that setting your first boundary can feel intimidating, but you're stronger than you think. And remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're pathways to healthier relationships. If you're struggling to take that first step, drop a comment or send me a message. I'd love to help you create a boundary that honors both your love for them and your need for peace. Thank you for watching, and remember, supporting your loved one doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Boundaries allow you to keep showing up with strength, compassion, and resilience. Follow me for more tips on how to navigate this journey.